We tried and we tried, we were the better team.
Because I was really bad at football when I was a kid.
England usually arrive at tournaments with one of two reputations.
Good ball in for Crouch! 1-1!
Either they're overloaded with talent and short on clarity,
Still Anthony Gordon, there you go!
or they're organised enough to survive, but not quite sharp enough to scare the best teams.
We could have been better, we know that. When we made the changes, we lost a bit of the rhythm in the game plan.
Thomas Tuchel's England feels different. Not because every problem is solved, not because this squad is flawless. No national team is. It feels different because when you go line by line, role by role, you can actually see the football logic. You can see the plan. You can see why this group has people looking at the 2026 World Cup and saying, quietly at first, and now a lot louder, that England might have one of the most complete squads in the whole tournament. And honestly, I get it. Tuchel took the job on an 18-month deal starting January 1st, 2025, with one mission hanging over everything: win the World Cup or get as close to it as England have been in generations. The FA did not hire him for a soft rebuild or a feel-good reset. They hired him because he has a reputation for structure, detail, and making expensive talent look like a real team.
Es ist kein einziger Ball dabei für unser Spiel. Es ist nur dein eigenes Spiel.
Then, after an unbeaten qualifying campaign and a strong first year, England extended him through 2028. That tells you the early signs were convincing enough that the FA did not want this to be a one-summer experiment. Quick pause. For those who are not subscribers, subscribe and tell me which country you want next, because tournament squads are where football arguments turn into family arguments. Now, the easiest way to understand Tuchel's England is to start with the spine. Jordan Pickford in goal, John Stones at the back, Declan Rice in midfield, Jude Bellingham ahead of him, Harry Kane up front. You can argue about the exact order of importance. You can argue about who is aging better than who. What you cannot really argue with is the amount of high-level experience and tournament mileage packed into those five names. Pickford has been England's number one long enough that the shirt fits him naturally now. Stones still gives them calm on the ball and composure in big matches when healthy. Rice is the control tower in the middle, the player Tuchel seems to trust most as the base of the team. Bellingham is already one of the best tournament midfielders in the world at just 22, which is honestly a ridiculous sentence. Kane is still Kane. Goals, link-up play, leadership, those ugly little fouls he wins when a team needs to breathe, all of it. That core alone makes England serious. Then you start adding names around it, and things get more interesting. Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Gordon, Jared Bowen, Eberechi Eze, Morgan Rogers. That is not fake depth. That is not nice options on paper depth. Those are real attackers, and they give Tuchel different kinds of problems to solve for opponents. Saka gives you clean, wide threat and 1v1 quality. Foden gives you little pockets of technical violence between the lines. Rashford gives direct running and transition danger. Gordon gives you pace, pressing, and edge. Bowen gives you goals and reliability. Eze gives ball carrying and looseness in tight spaces. Rodgers gives power and driving from midfield or wide zones. You can make different front lines out of that and still end up with something dangerous. That is a big reason why people are calling this England squad scary. There is talent. Yes, England always have talent. The part that stands out more is that the profiles fit together better than they often have in the past. Tuchel's first squad in March 2025 already hinted at what he wanted. He brought in Dan Burn, recalled Jordan Henderson, gave opportunities to younger names like Miles Lewis-Skelly, Tino Livramento, and Gerald Quansah. And he did it while leaving out some familiar names. No Harry Maguire, no Jack Grealish. That was the first clear message. This would not be a loyalty project. This would be a fit project. And I actually think that is why this team feels sharper. International football gives you very little time. You don't get 8 months of training groundwork to build chemistry from scratch, so if the pieces don't fit, the flaws show up fast. Tuchel seems to understand that more than most. He's less interested in collecting famous names and more interested in building usable combinations. He wants defenders who can play in space, midfielders who can cover ground and still pass under pressure, wingers who can run both ways, forwards who can function inside structure instead of asking the structure to bend around them. That sounds obvious until you remember how many national teams still get seduced by name value. Look at the defense and you can see his preferences. Stones, Mark Gay, Ezri Konsa, Dan Burn, Jarell Quansah, Reece James, Jed Spence. There is size there, athleticism, different profiles too. Burn gives absurd height and aerial presence. Stones gives build-up calm. Gay gives mobility and cleaner recovery defending. Konsa gives flexibility and balance. Quansah gives youth, upside, and comfort on the ball. Reece James, if fit, is still one of the most complete fullbacks England can put on a pitch. Spence brings more speed and physicality. This is a back line built for modern tournament football, where you need to defend transitions, win set-piece battles, and still play your way through pressure. That set-piece part matters more than people admit. Tuchel has openly leaned into more direct weapons – crosses, long balls, set plays, physical mismatches. Some people hear that and act like England are going full caveman. I don't see it that way. I see a smart coach looking at a squad with Burn, Stones, Konsa, Quansah, Rice and Kane and deciding it would be stupid not to use their size. England can still play. They have enough technicians to dominate the ball against most teams. The difference is that they also look like they can make ugly games ugly in their own favour. And at the World Cup, that matters. You're not going to play 7 perfect games. At some point, you'll need a scrappy goal, a corner, a nasty back-post header, a long throw that turns into panic. England finally look built for those moments instead of pretending they're too sophisticated for them. The midfield might just be the best part of the whole squad. Rice is the fixed point, Bellingham is the star. Then, Tuchel has started layering in younger options like Adam Wharton, Alex Scott, Elliot Anderson, and Nico O'Reilly. That is a really healthy sign. It means England are not relying on one version of midfield play. They can control, they can counter, they can carry the ball, they can press higher, they can keep one extra technician ready if a game gets sticky. In past years, England often had a talented squad, with 1 or 2 midfield questions hanging over everything. This version feels far better balanced. And then there is Foden, who almost works like a midfield-forward hybrid in international football. With Southgate, the England conversation around him often turned weird. Great player, awkward fit, endless debates, too many left-footers, not enough space, too much theory. Under Tuchel, the job seems simpler. Find him the pockets, let him combine. Let him play closer to Kane and Bellingham, where the game gets messy and defenders stop thinking clearly. That is where he can hurt teams. Now, the omissions tell their own story. Jack Grealish being left out repeatedly says Tuchel wants more vertical speed and less stop-start ball carrying. Harry Maguire missing out says he's prioritising defenders who can cover more space and handle more fluid build-up tasks. Trent Alexander-Arnold being outside at times tells you Tuchel is choosing balance over luxury in some positions. A few years ago, that would have felt impossible. England fans love their gifted specialists. Tuchel, he looks far less sentimental about that stuff. Some people hate that approach. They want every toolbox open at all times. I understand it. Though tournament football is ruthless, coaches usually get punished harder for weak links than for leaving a pretty name at home. There are still question marks, obviously. Pickford is secure, though Dean Henderson and James Trafford are right there behind him. Stones has to stay healthy. Reece James comes with the usual if fit label, which feels like part of his name at this point. Kane is still elite, though he is 32 and England do need enough goals around him that everything does not become Kane or bust. Rashford remains one of the bigger swing players in the squad because the good version of him changes the whole pace of England's attack. And Bellingham, as brilliant as he is, still carries the burden of being the guy everyone expects to look like the best player on the pitch in every major game. That's not exactly a small ask. One more thing I keep noticing, the bench doesn't feel ceremonial. In some old England squads, the drop-off after the first 11 felt obvious. Here, it really doesn't. Henderson still gives control and leadership. Trafford looks like a real long-term goalkeeper, not a camp body. Wharton can help you slow a game down. Gordon can help a calm fullback panic in 10 seconds. Bowen has that annoying habit of scoring without needing much of the ball. Rodgers gives you power if the midfield starts losing duels. Those details matter in tournaments where matches swing on tired legs. One substitution, one bad clearance, one cross nobody tracks. Still, when I step back and look at this group, I understand why the mood has shifted. England have real depth in the positions that matter most. They have physical strength without looking clumsy. They have creators without looking flimsy. They have young players entering prime years at exactly the right time. And they have a coach who seems perfectly comfortable making unpopular calls if he thinks those calls give him a better team. That is usually how serious tournament squads are built. So yes, Tuchel's England looks scary. Not in the loud, tabloid way, where everything becomes football's coming home by lunchtime. I mean scary in the grown-up football sense. You can picture the team, you can picture the patterns, you can picture different game states and still see solutions. That is a rare place for any national side to be. And if this squad stays healthy, England are going to arrive in 2026 with more than hope. They're going to arrive with real pressure, because this is the kind of group that will not be judged by reaching the quarterfinals and smiling nicely about progress. This squad is built to go deep, maybe all the way.